2024 national budget, moving the implementation deadline to December 31st, 2025. This decision was made during plenary session following the presentation and rapid passage of an amendment bill to the Appropriation Act, which was read and passed through all three readings in one sitting. Over now to Uyi Agbomofuegbe for more reports.
The debate was led by Senator Solomon Adeola, chairman of the Senate Committee on Appropriation, who justified the extension by emphasizing the need to complete ongoing projects under the 2024 budget and citing revenue constraints that have delayed capital project execution.
Allow, among other things, the procurement process to be completed, money to be released for the implementation of the capital component of these budgets.
To ensure that no project is abandoned in the course of implementation of the budget, and coupled with the financial inflow challenges that the government experienced, there is a need to extend the capital component of this budget.
Some senators, including Abdullah Yahaya and Abdul Ningi, criticized the repeated extensions as indicative of weak execution capacity within ministries, departments, and agencies, urging the federal government to provide explanations and calling for a committee inquiry.
Have committed their resources, conducted government work, did everything, but up to now their payments have been stalled. And there are so many projects, some ministries where even no work has been done in terms of going through the appropriation processes. So I think we need to know what really is happening. So I'm going to bring a motion sequel to the passage of the bill, which says the Committee on Appropriation and Finance should investigate the recurring dismal of non-implementation of the capital component and report back within 1 week or two.
Those who have done their jobs, committed their resources, cannot be paid. The benefits of the budget that we all took time to work on and passed has not gotten to the people.
I think that unless we take it very seriously up with the Ministry of Finance, this Parliament will become an embarrassment into itself.
Deputy President of the Senate, Barau Jibrin, who presided over the plenary, ruled in favor of the bill following the adoption of the Senate Committee on Supplies report.
The Committee on Appropriations and Finance have the function already enshrined in our rules to do that. So what we are trying to do is to emphasize the need that they should do the needful and then report back to us.
This marks the second extension, with the initial one having shifted the deadline from December 31, 2024 to June 30, 2025 after a request from President Bola Tinubu. In a similar development, the chamber considered and passed the Nigeria Police Trust Fund Amendment Bill, seeking to extend the duration of the trust fund from 6 to 12 years with the aim of enhancing police training, equipment, and facilities. Without opposition, the bill was read for the second and third times following the required suspensions of Senate Rule 78, subsection 1.
Of the bill, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, is basically to amend Section 2, Sub 2 of the Extant Act to extend the duration of the trust fund as established by the Act.
Both bills now await concurrence by the House of Representatives before heading to the President for assent. Uyi Agbomofuegbe reporting for Global TV News.
President Bola Tinubu has written to the House of Representatives declining his assent to the National Assembly Library Trust Fund establishment, Amendment Bill 2025, into law. In the President's letter read at the plenary by Speaker Tajuddin Abbas, Tinubu cited some constitutional policy and fiscal issues which he said were capable of disrupting existing governance system and creating a problematic legal precedent. The bill seeks to transform the National Assembly Library Trust Fund into the National Assembly Resource Center. Still on, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has charged FCT residents to be committed to the maintenance of the federal assets and properties. President Tinubu, who was represented by the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, made this call while commissioning the interchange Arsenal Road 20, Wole Soyinka Way along the Murtala Muhammad Expressway, Abuja. Our correspondent, Godwin Sunday, has details.
N20 Road is named after Professor Wole Soyinka. However, the Murtala Muhammad Expressway still remains its name. Be that as it may, this interchange marks a leap forward in Abuja's transportation network, a well-lit, future-ready artery that is easing commute and promoting connectivity. While speaking during the commissioning, the president, represented by the Senate President, Senator Godswill Akpabio, highlights the significance of the infrastructural milestone achieved by the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory as he commissions the state-of-the-art interchange linking the newly commissioned Wole Soyinka Way to the busy Murtala Muhammad Expressway.
Strategically linking key areas and easing the flow of traffic will unlock new opportunities for commerce, reduce travel time, and contribute directly to increased productivity and a better quality of life for all who traverse these vital routes.
Speaking on the impact of the project, Barrister Nyesom Wike thanked the President for commissioning the project.
Mr. President, we thank you most sincerely and will not take it for granted the love you have shown to the people of FCT and the FCT administration.
Godwin Sunday, reporting for Global Television News.
The Nigerian police have arrested 26 suspects for their alleged involvement in the recent massacre at the Yelwata community in Benue State. The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, made this known in Abuja while briefing journalists. Security correspondent Kike Lomo Okere was there for Global TV.
While addressing journalists in Abuja, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, says 47 villagers were killed. 2 attackers were killed by the police and over 100 others were displaced. He pointed out that majority of the suspects were arrested on June 22, 2025. The Inspector General of Police also revealed that 22 suspects have been arrested for killing 12 travelers in Plateau State, while 5 persons have been arrested for killing 2 persons in Benue State this week.
I am pleased to inform you today that 26 persons directly connected to this crime have so far been arrested and their weapons recovered. On 19th June 2025, 2 prime suspects who were masterminds of this attack were apprehended from their hideout. This arrest led to the arrest of 7 other suspects the following day, 20/06/2025. 9 of the passengers were murdered and 3 sustained injuries before our teams could intervene and rescue the remaining 22 victims. So far, 22 suspects have also been arrested in connection with this gruesome act of mob violence. They too will face the full wrath of the law in court.
While decrying the trends of reprisal attack in the country, the police boss says the police will leave no stone unturned to arrest perpetrators. It therefore called on Nigerians to reject violence and embrace peace, regardless of ethnic or religious affiliation.
Let the world know that Nigeria will not bow to terror. Our people will not be silenced by fear. We are not helpless. Nigeria is not hopeless. These criminals may have struck, but we will strike back with the full force of the law. We are not retreating, we are advancing. And we will not stop until every Nigerian can sleep with both eyes closed.
The arrest is coming barely a week after President Bola Tinubu directed the immediate arrest of the killers others who perpetrated the heinous killings of over 100 people in Yelwata community in Benue State. Kike Lomo Okere, Global Television News.
There was a heated uproar on the Senate floor following the presentation and review of the ad hoc committee's report on the emergency rule in Rivers State, specifically concerning the screening and approval of the chairman of Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission, RSIEC, Samuel Odi, has details.
Tensions rose as lawmakers debated the nomination of Michael Ode, a non-indigene, for the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission chairmanship. The appointment sparked strong opposition from several minority party members. Senate Minority Leader Abba Moro and 2 other senators voiced their disappointment, highlighting that the earlier appointment of a sole administrator, also not from Rivers State, had already generated controversies.
And you know that there were some eyebrows raised when he was appointed administrator. Now he has gone to pick a cross-river person again to become chairman of the electoral
I think order, please. Minority, 1 second remaining. 1 second.
At the end of the day, if you say it's politics, there is no problem with it because we are politicians and his politics have brought us here.
That the committee has reported, I'm okay, but let it be on record that I don't see the necessity of having somebody from another state chairing a local election committee of another state.
If the argument you are giving me now is that you want to get somebody out of Rivers so that the person that will be in charge of this will be unbiased in any way, that is a different thing. But the people should be carried along.
On the other hand, Senate Leader Opeyemi Bamidele and Chief Whip Senator Tahiru Mongunu defended the nomination, insisting that no constitutional violation had occurred.
The case of Rivers is a peculiar situation. It's an emergency rule. I have all the respect for the people of Rivers State. All the 6 other members, the 6 members are from Rivers. But the chairman we are bringing because we need all the neutrality that we can get.
Despite the disagreement, the report was overwhelmingly adopted by voice votes, confirming the appointment of the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission's chairman and members.
Well, as a leader, as a minority leader, I'll give you the chance to speak, but after that, we go to a committee of vote, then we put the nomination to vote.
Thank you.
If you want to defeat it, defeat it. If it goes fine, but I want to, they can't defeat it. It's politics. Order, please.
Samuel Odi for Global Television News.
Ahead of the upcoming elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has released a full list of 110 political associations seeking registration. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu made this known at the second regular consultative meeting with media executives in Abuja. Over now to our correspondent Priscilla Obasi with the report.
Addressing media executives at the INEC's second regular consultative meeting for the year, the chairman of the commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, confirmed that the commission has received letters of intent from 110 political associations seeking registration as political parties ahead of the future elections and assured that all applications are being processed in accordance with the law and the Commission's 2022 regulations and guidelines for political parties. Professor Mahmood Yakubu emphasized that the Commission will remain transparent and impartial in processing all requests, regardless of the social status of the promoters.
As you are aware, the election will be held in 68 constituencies, made up of chairmen and their deputies for the 6 area councils, namely Abaji, the Abuja Municipal Area Council, Amak, Buari, Gwagwalada, Kuje, and Wali, as well as 62 wards for the election of councillors, drawn on the basis of 10 wards for each area council, except Amak, which has 12 wards on account of its population.
Professor Yakubu also dismissed claims that the Commission is stalling or acting under political pressure, describing the allegations as baseless. He noted that except for 6 newly received applications, all letters have been acknowledged and the full list, including proposed party names, acronyms and pro-tem officers, will be published on INEC's website and social media platforms.
The Commission will continue to update you on these and other electoral activities. I urge you to monitor these activities. At the same time, I wish to appeal to you to promptly upload your applications for accreditation of media personnel for the Anambra State Governorship election holding on Saturday, 8th November 2025 as soon as...
The INEC chairman provided updates on two major electoral events, the FCT Area Council elections and the Anambra governorship election, where campaigns are currently ongoing, and called on media organizations to submit applications for accreditation ahead of the November 8 polls. He also announced plans to resume continuous voters registration (CVR) and conduct pending by-elections, with details to be released within 24 hours. Priscilla Obasi, Global Television News.
Thank you, Priscilla, for that report. Meanwhile, Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has published a notice of the Ekiti State governorship election slated for June 20, 2026, stating that the Bimodal Voter Accreditation System (BVAS) shall be used for the accreditation of voters. INEC had last month announced the dates for Ekiti and Osun state governorship elections, but the publication of Wednesday's notice is in line with Section 28, subsection 1 and 2 of the Electoral Act 2022 as amended. The notice states that elections will commence by 8:30 a.m., shall be conducted in 2,445 polling units spread across the 16 local government areas and of Ekiti State, while emphasizing that only persons whose names appear on the register of voters and have valid permanent voters cards shall be allowed to vote. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, says Nigeria recently signed a Memorandum of Understanding MOU with India to prevent the production of codeine-based syrups for importation into Nigeria. The Apapa Strategic Commander of the NDLEA, Buba Wakama, disclosed this while addressing journalists at the command as part of activities to mark the commemoration of the 2025 International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Drug Trafficking. He said that the event, which has been billed to take place on Thursday, has been themed "The Evidence is Clear, Invest in Prevention, Break the Cycle," reiterated that it is straightening actions and cooperation in curtailing the availability, accessibility, and affordability of drugs. You are watching the live broadcast of AM News. When AM News returns, Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority introduces new requirements for regulation of imported lubricant. Details coming shortly, plus sports and stories on the other side of this break. Please stay with us. You are welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, this is AM News on Global Television. Thank you for staying with us. In business now, the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA, has called together stakeholders for a sensation of the new requirements introduced by the authority for the regulation of lubricant importation. The regulation has been implemented to ensure that imported lubricant meets the standard requirements of the regulator, thereby preventing outlaw-traded lubricants from entering into the Nigerian market. Over now to Sharon Ajay as she completes the report.
The Executive Director of the Hydrocarbon Processing Plants, Installations and Transportation Infrastructure, Francis Ogeri, emphasized on the need for the lubricant importation regulations as well as to drive production growth and boost economic progress and confidence in the Nigerian market.
To do that is to streamline to meet the shortfalls, like you said, 30-40%. But if these people are encouraged to produce, and they know that we can streamline the 60% that is coming in, then everybody will be compelled to come and invest. And that's the basis of what we're doing.
The Assistant Comptroller General of Customs, Umar Aliyu, has affirmed the customs' readiness to collaborate with all stakeholders in the industry to ensure effective regulation of lubricants.
So it's part of the permit that all the stakeholders that are involved in this industry that will look. And the sensitization that is now going on now within the stakeholders is one of the key approach, because
the executive director of the Lubricant Producer Association of Nigeria, Luban, Emeka Obidike, has beckoned on the industry to strengthen the already existing lubricant plant for a more efficient production.
The authorities should be talking of how to strengthen the existing lubricant plants. You see, there's no country that can achieve true greatness with overdependence on foreign products. Every government at every level does everything to strengthen a policy that will help the manufacturing sector.
It has been observed that before the law was put in place to check adulterated lubricants imported into the country, such lubricant did not only damage vehicles but the economy at large. Sharon Ajay reporting for Global TV News.
Pensioners under Nigeria's Contributory Pension Scheme, CPS, have appealed to the National Assembly to approve the full implementation of 758 billion naira treasury bond announced earlier this year, intended to clear decades-long arrears owed to retirees. The bond, approved in February 2025 by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu during a Federal Executive Council meeting, was introduced to settle outstanding liabilities under the scheme for federal retirees. The initiative aims to resolve long-standing pension obligations, some of which date back over 16 years. On the foreign scene now, President Donald Trump says the U.S. strike on Iran resulted in the total obliteration of the country's nuclear capabilities, insisting that the country's atomic program has been set back by decades. President Trump took victory lap at NATO's Hague summit, joining leaders in reaffirming that what he called ironic commitment to protect each other after allies agreed to his demand to wrap up defense spending. Over now to Uyad Bomofoigwe's report.
The U.S. leader appeared keen to take the commendation as he secured a key foreign policy win by getting NATO's 32 countries to agree to meet his headline target of 5% GDP on defense spending.
I believe it was total obliteration. I believe they didn't have a chance to get anything out because we acted fast. If it would have taken 2 weeks maybe, but it's very hard to remove that kind of material. It's very hard and very dangerous for them to remove it. Plus they knew we were coming, and if they know we're coming, they're not going to be down there. There aren't too many people that are going to be down there.
In a move that will provide reassurance to allies in Europe worried over the threat from Russia, Trump signed off on a final leader's declaration confirming commitment to NATO's collective defense pledge that an attack on one is an attack on all. Uyi Agmofwebe, reporting for Global TV News.
Marches in Kenya to mark a year since massive anti-government demos turned violent as protesters engaged in running battles with police who flooded the streets with tear gas and sealed off government buildings with barbed wire. At least 16 people were killed last year by security forces in weeks of protests over tax rises and the dire economic situation for young Kenyans, peaking when a huge crowd stormed Parliament on June 25th. Thousands gathered in central Nairobi, including the families of last year's victims, for initially peaceful adversary matches. In sports now, Neymar extended his contract with Brazilian club Santos until the end of 2025 as he attempts to recapture his form in time for next year's World Cup. Neymar started his career in Santos before moving to Barcelona and then Paris Saint-Germain after an injury-hit spell in Saudi Arabia. He returned to Santos in January on contract that was due to expire on June 30th. As Global TV AM News comes to an end, let's take a quick look at our top stories again. Brought to you, the Nigerian Senate has approved a further extension for the capital component of the 2024 national budget, moving the implementation deadline to December 31st, 2025. And in business, Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority has called together stakeholders for sensitization of a new requirement introduced by the authority for the regulation of lubricant importation. And on the foreign scene, President Donald Trump says the U.S. strikes on Iran resulted in the total obliteration of the country's nuclear capabilities, insisting that the country's atomic program has been set back by decades. And finally, in sports, Neymar extended his contract with Brazilian club Santos until the end of 2025 as he attempts to recapture his form in time for next year's World Cup. And that's it on Global TV AM News. A quick reminder that Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen by using @GlobalTVNG. You can download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to keep track of our broadcast. I am Jumai Manson. Thank you for watching. Good morning. Up next is Global Morning. Stay tuned.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest. And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning. Do you know that Global Television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch Global Television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest. And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning. know that Global Television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch Global Television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest. And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning. It is a beautiful Thursday morning right here on Global Television, and it is the program Global Morning. How you all doing today? It's a raining day. Yes, it is. The weather is really a downpour that happened this morning. Hope you got to your various destinations safe. If you're still at home, just take it easy. Do not worry, but make sure you go to work today if you need to. Of course, I am Jumai Manson, and we have a series of discussions here today. My co-host Uyakpo Agbomofwegbe will be joining in shortly. He is within the building, and of course, he will be joining in as soon as possible. It's a beautiful time. It's a beautiful day. So much has been happening in the country, and today is a very special day, 26th of June, talking about the International Day of Illicit Drugs and Substance Abuse. It shows that individuals who suffer this sort of issue when it comes to drugs and substance, they are remembered, and ways of how loved ones, dear individuals who are dear to them, try as much as possible to keep them on track to help them overcome this ill in our society. But at the same time, a lot when it comes to politics, you know of the coalition that is happening here and there, defections here and there, and of course commissioning that has been happening here in the FCT Abuja. Well, a lot will be coming your way on the program, as from the newspaper review segment to what is happening on the internet when it comes to social buzz, and of course international news, and all of that encompass. Like I mentioned, I am Jumai Manson. You are welcome to the program Global Morning. Do not go anywhere. The program continues shortly. Stay tuned.
Do you know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to global television.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest. And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Alright, you're welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, this is Global Morning on Global Television, and I mentioned before that my co-host Uyagbomafwegbe is right here in the building. He was just doing one or two taking care of some very important issues. Hi Uyi, how are you doing today?
Well, good morning, Jumai. As always, it's a delight to be here.
Yeah, it's always a delight to have you. My co-host, my tag team, Monday through Friday. Like, you know, it's raining and a lot of people are going to go to work late today. Some, like our cameraman, came in drenched today. And funny enough, we're talking about the weather yesterday, how most Nigerians don't look at weather forecasts. We don't plan our days in the weather and all of that. And so we should have the necessary gears when it comes to rain, from our the boots, raincoats, and all of that. But like I said, we're Africans, we're Nigerians, we don't have time.
The culture will take a whole lot of time to evolve.
Exactly,
right?
it does. But I think we should put it into consideration because it was a serious downpour all over. From
incidentally, the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, that's NIMET now, has been giving us heads up a lot about the rain, the weather, and what will happen across virtually all the states, especially up north from where we operate now. But in all, the point being made here is that people must be a bit more responsible and proactive, right? Which means that these are not the days to say, well, I don't give a broomstick about the rain or the weather, because it's going to shape your day, whether you like it or not. It will impact your plans. As if I were you, for example, I want to look at what does the weather say for tomorrow, what do I need to plan about, and how do I need to go about my day and things like that. But in all, just let's keep the main thing the main thing.
Let's keep the main thing the main thing. I like that. And of course, know how to, you actually know what time to leave the house. I think that it's very important. It's key. You know, you can just, if the weather is going to be cloudy in the mornings, you know that from maybe 7:30. But it depends on how your day is going to go, basically. And of course, today is a very sensitive day for a lot of individuals. It's International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, today the 26th of June. You know, there are lots of individuals who are addicts out there when it comes to drug and substance abuse, and some Africans, whether both in diaspora, feel this is the fastest way for wealth, and that's why they traffic drugs. They actually digest a lot when it comes to this particular substance, knowing that it can kill them at that particular risk. So today is a day to reach out to individuals that are struggling with drugs and substances, telling them that, hey, we know it's there, we care about you, try as much as possible to stop even when you have a relapse. A lot of families, in one family there's always someone or relative or someone who is actually struggling with drugs and substance abuse, which is a major menace, a problem in the society, especially when it has to do with youth. Some youths use it as an excuse to forge ahead, telling you there's no unemployment, I need to keep my head abreast, I need to focus, so the only thing that can help me is when I take illicit drugs like tramadol, codeine, and all of that encompass, which is not healthy. And I pray with this awareness that it's, as in to recognize there is a problem. It is a problem all over the world when it comes to illicit drugs, substance. It's a struggle for so many, especially the
I must
youth.
admit, Juma, I love how you put it, to recognize that it is a problem. Because I think the solution begins from that recognition, that what we have on our hands is huge. And the earlier we start dealing with it, the better for us as a country, as a society, and of course as families. Quite frankly, it is beyond just referring to a bunch of people as the black sheep of their respective families. When people get hooked on illicit substance, we say, well, that person is the black sheep of the family. It goes beyond that. We need to look at the ramifications, all right? What implications does it hold for society? Does it hold for us as a people? It's very important. At what point do we see this or start seeing this, if you like, this spike in drug abuse cases? All right. I mean, I am relatively young. I have known people to abuse drug over time.
Yes.
All right. Illiterate, high up there, those who are down here and all of that. I mean, across board. However, the last 20 years, for example, has shown us a pattern that there has been this very nasty surge in how people abuse drugs, all right, by whatever names. At the point, there had even been this theory that some elements from beyond this continent, I mean from beyond Africa, had come into Nigeria to start milling, I use that word advisedly, to start milling drugs, all right, which is why you see young people, all right, becoming more hooked on drugs than they are hooked on anything else these days.
Very true.
People feel they are overwhelmed. People feel, well, as we say on the social media, the issues of life are pressing their necks. And by way of trying to find relief because they want to breathe, all right, they want to be able to just vent a little and find some space in their head, they turn to different drugs. I mean, how do you explain, for example, to my 5-year-old daughter that people would spike their drinks with all kinds of drugs? People would just lace things like confectionery with drugs. You buy a piece of cake, for example, you're eating a piece of cake and you think it's like any other kind of cake.
You're having punch and the next thing
it's drugs. You're just using drugs, whether you know it or not. And the impact will always be there, and the impact is always telling. So the question is, how do we deal with this monster? Because that's what it has become.
It is a
so
monster.
like Juma mentioned a while ago, a day like this is set aside for that purpose, and the United Nations didn't make a mistake by reaching that resolution to say, look, let's have a day set aside
to deal with illicit drugs, to deal with drug abuse. And if we domesticate the conversation, you realize that the Nigerian Drug Law Enforcement Agency, the NDLEA, has not been sleeping on it. I mean, under the leadership of retired Colonel General Mbu Amawa, you see that the NDLEA has taken the fight to even those who deal these drugs, not just those who use,
the cartel,
to the source. All right, how do you bring these drugs into the country and things like that? Every other day, especially on Sundays, Femi Babafemi, the spokesman of the agency, is always coming out with statements as to the bursting that has happened, those syndicates that have been busted and things like that. And you're wondering, at what point do we say we are done busting? It shows you how broad the markets have become.
Yeah, just to chip in, the market is really broad because most individuals actually make billions of naira on drugs and substance abuse. Illicit drugs, by the way. Some would tell you, even some actors and actresses have been caught under this particular umbrella. People will look up to. There are individuals who are role models to a lot of individuals in the society who have been caught in the midst of drugs and illicit drugs, smuggling drugs from Nigeria to other countries and all of that. But at the same time, I think an awareness needs to start at a very young and tender age. I feel a lot of individual schools need to talk about why the danger of drug abuse and illicit trafficking, why it is bad and detrimental to your health as an individual, what it does. Like, a few months back, we read on the headlines how an Indian came into Nigeria, had the effrontery to wrap illicit drugs in chocolates. Everyone will say, Juma, you always talk about it because it has to do with chocolates. Yes, but at the same time, it is what it is. Now, how can someone come into our country and you feel it is okay to wrap drugs, to sell to our youth, to cause more harm than good in our society? That is what it is now. And a lot of Africans, Nigerians, travel to other parts of the country to do the same thing. And it is harmful, it's detrimental, and it doesn't bring any hope of development in a country. Because most of these drugs abusers, illicit drug holders and all of that, sometimes they commit acts which they are not even aware of themselves. That's why you see so many killings. They are all hooked on drugs, because how in your right mind would you see a human being like yourself to suffer so much? You just have to be hooked on drugs. The drugs just take you to a whole new level, and that is why this day is set aside for individuals out there. And there are some who genuinely want to stop weed. There are some who have their relapse. They go back and forth, back and forth. This day is meant for everyone who is under that umbrella of drugs and illicit drugs and substance abuse and trafficking. Some feel it is the only way out of poverty. No, it's not, because once you're caught, that is the end of your life. There's a country, is it Malaysia, one of these countries, that it's immediate execution.
Yeah, you have quite a number of countries. China is one of them, for example.
Immediate execution.
Indonesia is another one.
Indonesia, yes. Once you're caught, immediate execution, and they don't beat words about it. So there are other ways and there are other means in which you can get a very honorable, noble source of livelihood. I always say, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. Let's be patriotic and know that there are other sources than illicit drugs and, of course, trafficking. Really.
Quite brilliantly said. I never would have thought there would be a day in my lifetime where people will have to ingest pellets of drugs, all in the name of trying
100.
to move them abroad,
150,
stuff like that.
200.
Yes, you just ingest all of them, and we're hearing all sorts of stories. You turn to different parts of the country, especially in the mega commercial city like Lagos, and you're seeing how that an entire duplex, an entire bungalow is dedicated to housing drugs, and then you hear the NDLEA telling you the street value of this drug is 20 billion.
You'll be shocked.
And they were scratching your head, your whole head is spinning, because you just can't wrap your head around how this is happening under your very nose. But it is the life for many people.
It is, and of course, when you hear about how individuals ingest these illicit drugs, and they tell them that, hey, it's for this amount of hours. It's a risk people are willing to take, whether something goes bad or it goes well. And for some that it has been going well, don't think that one day you'll not become, because you're actually destroying lives of individuals. A lot of lives are being destroyed by your in some people's mind, oh, God has helped me. No, he hasn't.
It's
just giving you grace. It's a breakthrough. You better be careful, because you're destroying lives, a lot of lives. But at the same time, I'm glad that this day has been set aside for individuals to know that this is a monster, like you mentioned, in our society. And of course, it is a menace. And if we can curb this, even if we do not eradicate it completely, but at least it will come to a barest minimal. It will go a long way to help individuals to regain who they are, because drugs and substance just makes you a shadow of yourself.
Right.
And for those that are struggling, hey, we see you, we know that there is hope, you can come out of it. You know, I interviewed someone, then he was 43. He came on my program and he said he started abusing drugs at the age of 13. That his uncle was the one that introduced him to drugs, and he had relapse, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But at the long run, he made up his mind that this is not doing him any good. So the thing is, he has to, for himself and by himself, stop. He sought help and all of that. So there's something I picked from that interview. You as an individual have to make up your mind.
Right.
You have to determine on your own that, hey, this is doing more harm than good. I am not growing from this. So I need to stop. And that's the first sign of help. Because if family members force you, pull you, take you, drag you, beat you up, some take it as if it's religious. They take you to the church, take you to mosques for deliverance and all of that. No. Sometimes you need to see you have to go to see a psychology. It's very important. You have to go for that kind of meditation, counseling, and all of that. It's very important. A psychiatric hospital, it's not a stigma. It's for you to get help. But at the same time, you as an individual, you have to make up your mind. Your mind has to be made up. You have to say to yourself, I do not want to continue in this anymore. And then that is the first step to recovery. All right, now remember, it's Global Morning on Global Television. Let's go on a very quick break. Up next is a newspaper review segment. Stay tuned.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest. And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning. know that Global Television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch Global Television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest. And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
All right, you're welcome back from that very short break. And all about now is the newspaper review segment. And we will begin with the first paper of the day, and it is the Punch newspaper. At the side of the Punch newspaper on page 18, it reads, "We have straightened ICRC as engine room for Nigeria's infrastructure revolution." And that's in the voice of Tinubu. Go out and get yourself a copy. And the Star Story says, "Neck crisis, Makinde block revolts as INEC verdict tears PDP apart." And the writer there says, "Damagun Saraki back Wike's Ali return, cancel June 30th NEC, pro Makinde NWC governors protest." Basically, that is all the news making rounds in the Punch newspaper. Please go out and get yourself a copy and be well abreast with issues making round. Uyi will run us through the next paper, which is the Nation newspaper.
Incidentally, we are skipping the Nation newspaper to bring you Tribune this morning. It turns out that most of the papers are if you like, flooded in advertorial. But then let's turn to the Tribune. Look at the headlines above the nameplate for you. Top left, it says again, PDP crisis gets messier, 5 days to 100th NEC meeting. A couple of riders, excuse me, accompany that headline. It says acting national chairman postpones June 30 NEC meeting. What's more, it says reinstates Ayahu as national secretary. 11 NWC members counter Damagun over Ayahu NEC meeting. Read all of those intriguing details on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune. And by the way, that story, that headline actually is replicated across most major dailies today. Next is, I was never arrested by EFCC over alleged $7.2 billion fraud. That is credited to a former NNPC chief financial officer. And then top right corner, 17 soldiers killed, 10 others injured in battle with terrorists in Niger. That is credited to Chief of Defense Staff. The writer tells us a military deploys 800 special forces to combat insecurity. And last headline from the Nigerian Tribune, 2027 is your kicker. We have 110 associations for party registration. INEC. Find those details on page 15. INEC is saying there are several discrepancies and conflicts with many of these applications, but then we understand the coalition elements are still bent on registering a party, which will become more like, for want of better words, a special purpose vehicle for them in light of the 2027 general election. All right, grab a copy of the Nigerian Tribune today so you can find those details for yourself. We'll move on now to The Guardian.
All right, now The Guardian newspaper, and below the nameplate it says obedient ADA 108 others apply to INEC for registration, and you can find that read on page 3. New tax regime on the way as Tinubu signs bill into law today, and that read is on page 3 also on The Guardian newspaper. Next is the picture of General Christopher Musa, and he says 17 soldiers killed in Niger as troops foil attack. And that read is also on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. The Star story there reads, amid weak social services, state nearly 200 billion naira on renovations. And that is on page 6 of the Guardian. Below all of that, it says over 91% of FX liquidity outside former banking system, APCON claims, and that read is on page 19. Of course, that's the business news on The Guardian. FG to hold manufacturers, importers responsible for plastic pollution. And it says Nigeria can't make progress without efficient civil service, says Alake, and that's on page 7 of the Guardian newspaper. Below all of that, it says minister seeks alignment of military training with the national security objectives, and that is on page 8 of the Guardian. Damagun PDP NWC on Wapeth over Anyahu's reinstatement NEC meeting, and you can find that read on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Please go out and get yourself a copy and be well abreast with news making round. Next.
We need to talk about this plastic pollution for a second. It happens that we are probably not looking at all of the ramifications of all of this, right? We're facing out plastic, for example, which is good in light of the climate change issue, in light of the issue around environmental degradation and what have you. Of course, 5th of June, as always, every other year is World Environment Day, and we're going to talk about all of these issues.
Exactly.
But this is beyond the environment. This is beyond the climate change impact and the concerns around it. It's also about the economy. It's also about livelihoods, all right? We need to talk about this from the standpoint as well, because there are several angles to it. We need to also talk about it from the standpoint of how it affects people's livelihood, right? There are people whose livelihoods are directly tied to plastic specific, if you like, occupations. Or,
very true.
Yes, that kind of thing, or if you like, endeavors. All right. However, what do we do now that we are phasing out plastic? What are the alternatives we're bringing, and what are the modalities we're putting in place in terms of how we do this phasing? How long will it take? What's the timeline and things like that? Yes, we say let's recycle, which is
exactly. I was going to say that.
You see, recycling is not just a theoretical thing, right? People have to understand basically that there's also a cycle to recycling, right? There's a value chain to it, right?
Very true.
How do we recycle? Do we recycle properly in Nigeria as of today? Do we have that capacity to scale recycling? Because recycling has to, I mean, the outcome ultimately has to rub off on the economy, has to rub off on livelihoods. People's lives must be seen to be better on account of the recycling they do.
Exactly.
Which means that we must pay attention to all of those fundamentals. Otherwise, we'll just be having a superficial conversation.
And then just to add to what you're saying, Mr. Uyi, looking at it, do we really understand what recycling is all about?
Right.
Most people do not even know. They tell you it's just very few. I've seen documentaries of individuals who actually recycle for a living, and they make the best of what they recycle into something really productive and really, really big.
Right.
And you wonder, what is this? Like the pet bottle that you throw away, you and I have no use for.
Right.
You know, in other advanced countries, they actually, in their bin, there's a place they put recycle plastics and all of that, because they know it's going to be used for something.
You separate your waste.
Exactly, to use to better that particular country. They understand the ramification of what it holds and the toll it takes on a country to recycle. But you and I, who are unaware of the after product of recycling a particular, use quote and unquote, trash, we do not put value on it. So that is why that orientation needs to be made. So we understand this is part of the process of climate change, because believe it or not, climate change has come and it has come to stay. So the better we evolve with it, the good for you and I. So I think an awareness needs to be done when it comes to why it is necessary and important that we recycle, and the betterment in which it does in our country, Nigeria. All right.
All right. Thank you, Jumai, for making that incisive point about recycling this morning. But let's turn to our next port of call. I'm sure we're done with the Guardian newspaper. We'll move on now to the New Telegraph newspaper. We'll begin with the very topmost headline for you this morning. It says, money laundering, Nigeria to undergo last hurdle assessments to exit grey list. It's not huru yet, as they say, until we're able to exit that grey list, where we have already been blacklisted for a while now. All right, still above the nameplate of the New Telegraph, FG moves to liquidate outstanding contractors' obligations. Find that read on page 8 of the New Telegraph today. What more do we have here with a picture of President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio. It says here that uproar in Red Chamber over appointment of non-indigenous as River State Independent Electoral Commission chair. Okay, that's on pages 3 and 6. It also says here, Federal University of Keshere to confer honorary doctorates on Kalu. That's a former governor of Abia State, Dr. Oji Uzo Kalu. All right, for the benefit of our viewers, Federal University of Keshere is in Gombe State. All right. Then one here, which story we also brought to you yesterday, by the way. Lubricant producers lament 10 billion naira loss as NMDPRA tightens imports regulations. All right. And then we have here ex-Kwara governor Adebayo dies at 84. That's quite some loss there. Governor of Old Kwara State. Then the Star headline says, with Akika, National Secretary, PDP crisis deepens as NWC counters Damago governors, reinstates Ayahu. And then 2 riders, shelves neck for expanded caucus. Akpabio Wike mark party over scribes resumption. And then we take it a little further down now. Akika here says $300 helicopter levy. NEMA to shut down, and then you have those on pages 2 and 8. Defaulters, facilities, others. All right. Then further down again, DHQ to deploy 800 special forces to combat insecurity. Senate declares Yelwata Mangu massacres acts of terrorism. I mean, no other way to go around it.
Of course.
I mean, we don't have to debate this, obviously.
Of course.
We are processing a request for parties registration. INEC, well, sounds like we're moving towards 2027 faster than we thought. On the foot of the front page of the New Telegraph paper today, nightmares triple risk for premature death. That's according to a study. I'd like you to read that up on page 28 today of the New Telegraph. All right, it's quite scientific. But that's all we have from that paper for you. Pick up a copy, look up details, and stay ahead of the news. And then we'll move on to the Daily Courier for you now.
All right, the Daily Courier. Below the nameplate, it says Tinubu to sign tax bills into law today, Thursday. PDP crisis deepens as 11 NWC members disown Damagu's pronouncements. And the rider reads, kick against Anyanwu's return as National Secretary. And the other rider reads, reaffirms June 30th NEC meeting. And below all of that, there's a rider that says, troop foils terrorist attack in Niger State, kill scores in fierce gun battle. And below all of that, it reads, INEC to conduct by-elections, resume nationwide voters registration. And below that again on page, that is on page 16, now on page 8 it says, CDC-FIB postpones opening of recruitment portal to July 14th. And like I mentioned, that is on page 8. And of course, our international news there, it says, Kenya anniversary protests turned violent and 8 dead. And basically that is it on the Daily Courier. Please go out and get yourself a copy to be well abreast on issues making rounds. Next is the Standard Times, and over to Uyi Agbomofuege.
Just to add to that, thank you, Jumai. You know, the Kenya issue is quite complicated now. It's exactly 1 year since that first protest came up, which was on account of the fact that President William Ruto, the Kenya president, had introduced a couple of bills regarding tax that we're doing in Nigeria now. By the way, President Bola Tinubu is expected to sign the new tax bill into law today. But in the case of Kenya, 1 year ago, there was a protests that greeted, in fact, series of protests that greeted the that policy direction that was being
that didn't sit well with the youth.
Yeah, but exactly, the youth in particular took to the streets, pretty much like the answers we had here virtually 5 years ago. But then this was a bit different because it was squarely on account of the tax laws that were being introduced. In the case of Nigeria, it was police brutality. All right, so 1 year down the line, the protesters say, look, we want to have the first year anniversary. And the police say, look, we're taking to the street, we're not going to allow that happen because we don't want the same situation and the outcome that we had a year ago to repeat itself. But you know what they say, history repeats itself.
Yes, it does.
And then the president, Mr. Ruto, says he would support the police. And of course, we know what that means. The nuances are not as complicated as we think. So now we're hearing 8 persons have died, several others injured. And it doesn't look like the protest has ended or is going to end anytime soon.
And it's not looking like a peaceful protest either.
Yes, because it starts as a demonstration or peaceful demonstration, and then it just spirals into, So it's a lesson, maybe I should say masterclass, in how government should be careful and sensitive to the desires and, if you like, the needs of the people.
True.
So that you just don't bring about some kind of, if you like, complicated and all of these if you like, anti-people policies and things like that. Otherwise, some things that appear to be normal can throw a country into chaos, more chaos than you can handle.
Yes, it does. And at the same time, for as much as the government wants to pass a bill that they feel is beneficial to individuals or the citizens, I think there should be a dialogue. Sometimes you don't just pass bills. There's some people that will not agree with you, especially youth. Youths are the most strongest individuals in the country because they're young and they can move things. They are movers and shakers. They have all the energies. I call them movers and shakers. They can make things happen once their mind is put into it. So sometimes there should be like a dialogue. Let's understand. Okay, let's try this out. Let us have a round table for us to move forward. These are the youths. This is someone representing the youths. How is it going? Okay, let's try it out for 2 months and see. If it's not working, we'll change. And then protesters again. It's a win-win. It's a two-way thing. Protesters, if you're going to pass your message, if it's a peaceful, whatever message you want to pass, let it be civil. That's the fastest way you can set that message. That's the only way it will make more sense. Because if you start the demonstration and then a little trigger and then you escalate it, because that means that was the whole essence of this particular protest, to turn like this, because it didn't sit down with them that all these laws, these tax laws are put into place. It didn't favor. It was painstaking and it was biting hard into the economy and affecting them as individuals in that particular country. So if you're going to pass your message, I tell everyone, it's okay. Like our president, he says he would like come home now to Nigeria. Our president said he was part of protests. But the thing is how you pass your message.
That's right.
Be civil. You will get what you want. Be civil. People don't have to die because of you trying to make sense.
8 lives
or whatever.
already.
8 lives. Are you kidding me? Like seriously, 8 lives already and many more injured. No.
Quite sad.
Such situations can be averted. You just need to be civil to pass your message. That's the fastest way you can get anything. Just be civil.
Well, we hope this is something that the Kenyan authorities can run circles around as quickly as
I
possible.
hope they do.
So things can return to normal. But time for us to go into all of the back end story behind these protests in Kenya. But let's turn to our next paper now, which is the Standard Times. By the way, top right corner, the headline there says, police launch investigation as gunmen kill 3 in Kwara. Those details are on page 15 of the Standard Times, today's issue. Senate passes Rivers 2025 appropriation bill of 1.48 trillion naira. And then top right, top left corner here, it reads, institutional resilience key to Africa's future. That's credited to the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Layemi Cardoso. And then it brings us to the star headline, uproar as Senate okays non-indigen as Rivers Electoral Commission chairman. What's the rationale behind that kind of choice? Well, you can find details if and when you pick up a copy of the Standard Times today. Those forming coalition against me are political IDPs. That's credited to the #1 man of the country, President Bola Tinubu. He says those forming coalition against me are political IDPs. All right. Well, here again it says President Tinubu signs 4 tax bills into law Thursday. That's today, by the way. That story again finds replication across quite a number of dailies. Lagos unveils digital house numbering project to boost urban planning. That was brilliant and innovative. Insecurity is your kicker. Nigeria is at war, Peter Obi tells Tinubu. All right, let's always put context to these things, so because when you say Nigeria is at war, it sends a very crazy signal.
Yes, it does.
So what kind of war is it? But again, that's why you need to read up details.
Very important.
13 this morning, so you know exactly
that cracked me
what
up.
Mr. Obi means by saying Nigeria is at war.
Okay.
Confusion in PDP as NWC counters Damagun, rejects Ayao's reinstatement. ADC laments debt recovery in Niger zone. Customs, Western Marine Command seizes contraband worth over 325 million naira. And then lastly, on the foot of the Standard Times today, energy sector has Energy's Renaissance partner for indigenous oil gas development. Okay, so that's all we have for you on the front page of the Standard Times this morning. Daily Trust is our next port of call.
All right, let's flip to the Daily Trust newspaper. And it says, Tinubu to sign tax reform bill today. Of course, that particular story is almost all the headlines so far that we've read out. Party registration ADA obedience among 110 applicants, says INEC. Running mate, I will do whatever Tinubu wants in 2027. And that is from Barao. And the star story there says, soldiers, bandits, and bloody clash in Niger. Many feared dead. Unfortunate incident there. PDP 11 NWC members disown Damagu, rejects Anyawu's reinstatement. And if you're curious to know what that is all about, you have to go get yourself a copy of the Daily Trust and flip straight to page 5. And below that it says 5 arrested over death of 2 Kano youths. Unfortunate incident there, and you can find that read on page 40. Landmine explosion kills 4, injures 10 in Borno, and that is on page 37. PDP chieftain's son shot dead in Kwara. Unfortunate incident there, and that you can find on page 37. Up next is the Vanguard. Over to you.
Let's take you straight up to the Vanguard newspaper this morning and see what we've got there for you. Well, on the Vanguard, let's start with the big one here. It says top left corner, PDP crisis deepens as NWC members counter Damagu, insist Anyanwu not reinstated. You know what they say about the house divided against itself. 2027, coalition against me, full of political IDPs. President Tinubu again talking. 20 soldiers, scores of bandits die in Niger clash. Quite a sad story. We hear it was between bandits and the military in that state. Those are the headlines from the Vanguard, quite brief, but turns out that the Daily Times, which is our next port of call, is a bit more loaded.
Yes, and the Daily Time, above the name mast of the Daily Times on page 7, it says, Tinubu to sign major tax reform bills today, Thursday. And here it says, Senate confirms non-indigent as Rivers Electoral Commission chairman, and that's on page 2. The Star Stories reads, Ohaneze to governors, we will hold you culpable if Fulani militia strike southeast, and that's on page 2. And below all of that, it says troops in 3 hours, heavy gun battlefield terrorist attack in Niger. Workers at risk as state shun compensation scheme, NSITF boss warns on page 6 of the Daily Times. And it says Rep directs federal government to build army base in Yelwata. Afenifere chieftain, ex-governor Adebayo dies at 84. And it says NWC disowned Damagu, Anyanwu says neck on course. And that you can find on page 11. Please go out and get yourself a copy of the Daily Times. Up next is the Nation Star.
All right, let's look at the National Star for you real quick. We begin with the Star headline here. The kicker says 2027, INEC unveils 110 associations seeking political party registration. 2 riders accompany that headline. Says commission will be guided by law, directs opposition parties to challenge Soludo's 50 million naira campaign billboard fee in court. All right, let's raise it up a notch higher now. Top left, with a picture of the now embattled governor of Benue State, Hassan Thalia there. It reads, Benue killings must never happen in Southeast. Ohaneze warns governors. CDS to deploy 800 special forces to tackle insecurity. Airline operators, oil firms get 7-day ultimatum to pay helicopter landing fees, which you understand the aviation authorities have now moved to $300. It's a bone of contention, but hopefully they find a resolution in time. We break it down a little now. It says here, uproar in Senate over confirmation of non-indigent as Rivers State's Independent Electoral Commission chairman. Those details are with you on page 2. Mama Boko Haram, Aisha Wakil, 2 others get 42 years jail term. That has been a long time coming, but today looks like there's some closure. At last, FG hands over houses to 1994 Super Eagles heroes. That's 31 years after. Quite a long time. Maybe this is why they say justice delayed is not justice denied. Some things just have to happen in time, quite frankly.
Very true.
Right, so let's go to Daily Independent, where Juma will bring us some more headlines this morning.
All right, on the Daily Independent, above the name mass, it reads, INEC receives 110 applications for political party registration. And that you can find on page 3 of the Daily Independent. I would like to see vibrant opposition, says Tinubu. And the rider reads, assents to 4 tax bills today, mourns ex-governor Adebayo. And that you can find on page 9 of the Daily Independent. Now the Star Story reads, again, tomatoes are now luxury in Nigerian kitchens. Very true. Very true. Very true. And then the rider reads, families switch to substitutes as price soars. And here it says stakeholders finger insecurity policy gaps pose harvest losses. And then the last rider says FG must treat production as national food security issue, and that is on page 29. 2027, I'll be Tinubu's running mate if he asks me to, Barrow, and that's on page 7. Controversy trails $300 helicopter levy as NAMA issues 7-day ultimatum, and that's on page 6. LP Caucus decries demolition of Obi family's property, and that's on page 6, also on the Daily Independent. NAPSA Federal Government Committee, Dangote Refinery, FZE mole crashing petroleum product prices, and that's on page 25. And below the feet of the Daily Independent says National Secretary position, PDP crisis worsens as NWC member disagree on Anyao. And below that, Senate passes 1.48 trillion naira Rivers 2025 budget. And if you're wondering what that is all about, it's on page 25 of the Daily Independent. Go out and get yourself a copy and be well abreast. And with that, we have to wrap up the newspaper review segment. Please go out and get yourself a copy and be well abreast with issues, politics, making rounds. And just go out and get yourself a copy. Do not go anywhere. Global Morning continues shortly. Stay tuned.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information.
All right, you're welcome back. And if you're just tuning in, it's Global Morning on Global Television. If you're wondering if you've missed a lot on the program, yes, you have. But it's okay. You can still catch up. And we're done with the newspaper review segment. And up next is Social Buzz with Ogochukwu Mobana. Let's hear what's happening on the internet, some of the trending issues. And immediately after that, the first discuss of the day, we will delve into politics. Do not go anywhere. The program continues shortly. Stay tuned.
Good morning, the Global Morning crew, and good morning to you, my esteemed viewers. I am Ogochukwu Mobne. It is a cold Thursday morning, and today we're going to be checking what's buzzing on social media today. Well, MultiChoice has done something great for its consumers by slashing the decoder price in half. MultiChoice Nigeria has slashed the price of its DSTV decoder by 50%, dropping it from 20,000 naira to 10,000 naira. The company announced that the move aimed to attract more customers and curb declining subscriptions. According to the firm's Chief Executive Officer John Ugbe, in a statement released on Tuesday, the offer was a way of rewarding customer loyalty and delivering enhanced value to subscribers. We want to ensure our customers feel appreciated and have access to the best entertainment every day. The We Got You Covered campaign is about making premium content more accessible and showing that DSTV offers something for everyone, not just football fans. By repositioning itself as a platform for daily value, DSTV aims to encourage content discovery across a wider array of genres, including movies, drama, kids programming, and news. This means more channels, more shows, more reasons to tune in every day. The statement added also that the company also announced a promotional offer granting subscribers a free upgrade to the next DSTV package tier when they pay for their current plan in full between June 16 and July 31st, 2025. MultiChoice maintained the price slash, and the free upgrade initiative is a response to the noticeable economic impact of the everyday lives of Nigeria. Wow, this is really impressive from MultiChoice, slashing the price of the decoder into a half. But then again, the consumers of DSTV, are they really happy with this price slash? We all know that price slash is a very good thing, but is it what they want at this time? Because we've heard so much that people always complain about the subscription. It is high, and it's not something that anyone can easily afford. A lot of persons no longer even watch DSTV, and a lot of persons no longer subscribe their DSTV decoder in their house. They'd rather watch online TVs than subscribe DSTV decoder because of their high subscription. Well, we're going to be taking some comments from social media as regards this price slash on DSTV decoder, and our first comment today is coming from Master of Coins, and Master of Coins says, does MultiChoice actually believe that the price of their decoder is the problem? There are people who have decoders but are not subscribing. Honestly, this is the obvious truth. A lot of persons have decoder in their house but cannot subscribe. Slashing the price of decoder into half is not the problem. It is the price of subscription. How do I buy a decoder worth 10,000 naira and subscribe for over 20,000 naira? Make it make sense, at this point. Well, the next comment is coming from NECA Health, and NECA says, nice move, but let's talk about the subscription cost. The decoder is cheaper now, but can the average Nigerian afford to renew every month with the current economy? Pricing should reflect reality, not just marketing. Honestly, this is the honest truth, And the last but not the least comment today from this price slash is coming from Eze Onyekachi, and this one is a hilarious comment. It says, MultiChoice has no choice. They have reduced decoder by 50%. Honestly, at this point, they have no choice. The economic situation in the country is not helping anybody, and increasing the tariff for subscription is really not something cool. Well, that's it for MultiChoice price slash on decoder. Well, whether you like it or not, some persons are happy because some persons have not been able to afford the decoder in a long while. I remember when decoder was going for 8,000 naira, 6,000 naira even, you could get that family package decoder, you understand. But right now it is 10,000 naira, which is a good one for some other persons, Well, the next topic for today is federal government finally fulfilled their 3-decade promise of housing to 1994 AFCON winners. The federal government has finally fulfilled a 3-decade-old promise of house allocation to members of the 1994 Super Eagles squad that won the African Cup of Nations in Tunisia. Wow, this is really a good news. It's been decades, 3 decades. It's not, it's not a joke. Well, this was disclosed in a statement posted on the ministry's website on Wednesday. One of the beneficiaries from former striker Efan Ekuku, was represented with an allocation, was presented, I beg your pardon, with an allocation letter for a house in Abuja. He was represented at the brief ceremony by his niece, Lisa Jennifer Nwabogun, the director and head of Department Public Building and Housing Development, Femi Temitope, presented the letter on behalf of the Minister of Housing and Urban Development. Temitope described the move as part of the government's commitment to rewarding the patriotic service of the team, which brought honor to the nations 3 decades ago. Nwabogun says, I am deeply grateful to the federal government and the Ministry of Housing for fulfilling this long-standing pledge to my uncle. It's truly heartening to witness such commitment to integrity and follow through. These gestures not only honors Mr. Efan Ekwoku's service, but also restores faith in the value of public promises being kept. To be very honest, a lot of persons have even lost faith in this promise, because many people say it's over, since 1994, it's over 30 years. I think it's 31 or 32 years right now, if I'm not mistaken, and people, we know that some of the winners, some of the people, some of the players involved in 1994 AFCON, I'm sure some of them must have been sent away and not even get to enjoy this particular promise. Well, it also will be recalled that former President Muhammadu Buhari approved the implementation of this 1994 housing pledge in 2022. This was 28 years after it was first made. Wow. Housing units are being allocated to members of the team in various states, while some, like Ikoku, are receiving theirs in Abuja. Wow, this is heartwarming. I really am happy and I appreciate the government for this. But then again, like I said, trust social media users to always drop their comments. So we are going to be taking comments on this particular topic. And the first comment is coming from Kola Ibilola, and Kola says, 28 years after even makes it the more provoking, but it is better late than never. Wow, what do we have to say at this point? We know that a lot of persons who were involved in 1994 AFCON finals would have really loved to be part of these great honors that the federal government, is giving out this housing and all of that, the promises, but then they are nowhere to be found. Some are very sick and can't even stand up from their sick bed, but then we still appreciate the federal government for keeping to their promise even after 3 decades. Well, the second comment is coming from Koki Malaba, and Koki says, big up to Nigeria. Many of our soccer heroes on the continent are not acknowledged enough. To be very honest, a lot of persons, even after winning so many prizes, so many tournaments, we don't just even remember them. We don't even remember their names, except maybe they are really the very popular ones like JJ Okocha and of course Kanu Nwankwo that we really know, and a few others like Captain Siasia and Omokachi and the rest. But so many others, we don't remember their names. For some reasons, we don't remember them even with all their hard work, and which is not supposed to be so. So I'm going to say big ups to the federal government for keeping to their promise once more. Well, the last but not the least comment today is coming from Olujimi Tobiloba, and Jimmy says, Nigeria is the only country to honor footballers like this, but we still come here to spite the country. Wow, that's a great one. Nigeria, big shout out to Nigeria, of course, is the giant of Africa. So what example would they be showing if they don't do things like this? So once more, we are congratulating everyone who was part of the 1994 AFCON and who made Nigeria proud. That is a great one. We played, in Tunisia and definitely came back home with the cup. I think the whole story for Social Buzz today are all good stories. First off is the price slash from DSTV decoder, and the second one is a long-term promise that has been kept by the federal government, to be given to the 1994 AFCON team, that won the 1994 AFCON. Well, that's all we have for you today on Social Buzz. I'll be leaving you in the hands of the Global Morning team. But before then, please drop your comments using all the social media handles you're seeing right on your screen and be part of this conversation as Global Morning continues.
Well, thank you so very much, Agochukwu, for taking our time to walk us through some of the big stories across social media. Just a while ago when Juma and I were on, I did make mention of how that it's been 31 years, but now it has become a dream come true, a promise fulfilled. But let's turn to politics real quick, everyone. Our 2027 conversation has long started, even though politicians would want us to believe otherwise. We've seen President Tinubu talk about these issues. We've seen the opposition now becoming the coalition gradually also talk about some of these issues. As a matter of fact, it will appear that with every day that passes by, the talk about 2027 election just gets thicker. And then you're wondering what is going to change given what we know today between 2023 and 2027. I mean, around the election cycle itself and then the electioneering proper. In the meantime, the coalition, as is being proposed, says that it's finding it hard to get a political party registered, without which, of course, they cannot pursue their ambition. President Tinubu, on the other hand, says that those who want to, form a coalition against him are nothing more than a bunch of political IDPs. On top of all that, the president also says that he would love to see a vibrant opposition that is able to give him a run for his money. That's the conversation we're going to spend the next chunk of time having on Global Morning today. I'm joined by Chief Francis Solomon, who is the national chairman of the coalition of the, coalition of support groups for Asiwaju Shettima. That's actually a coalition that has over 300 support groups, which is quite sizable. He's also the Director General and founder of SSN Niger TV reality show Strongest State Nigeria. He's a politician, a technocrat, a philanthropist, and an ambassador of peace and unity. Your portfolio seems very heavy, but let's narrow down to politics, quite frankly, right? First, it's a delight to have you on the program.
Thank you.
Right. So let's talk about electioneering as it is today. You are a member of the APC, of course, and you are a proud supporter of President Bola Tinubu. As a Nigerian, as someone who is grassroots oriented, I'm not sure you are ignorant of what people say about President Tinubu's policies as of today, for example. What are you hearing and what's your assessment? I know you are going to be biased naturally, being a member of the APC.
Well, on that note, I would like to just correct the bias aspect. Despite being a member of the All Progressive Congress and a thick supporter of Asiwaju, I would do justice to this issue you raised by sitting on the fence. I wouldn't take sides. I would say it the way it is. Well, there is no government that has gotten it so easy. That is the truth. Now, let me give you an instance. If you have a faulty building and you want to get it right, you must go through the foundation. The foundation of our country has been messed up from time memorial. So getting a candidate or a president that would fix this country overnight is very difficult. We must tell ourselves the truth. Let's not talk about the political promises our leaders make. We know it is impossible to get this country fixed. So expecting Asiwaju to be the miracle man, the miracle worker, to get this thing done within a nick of time is not possible. But we must understand that he is doing a lot for this country and he's taking it step by step. If we must tell ourselves the truth, there are a lot of improvements in different aspects in this country, agriculture-wise, infrastructure-wise. In fact, every good Nigerian will say yes, this man is actually doing his best. But you know, our country is being made of the fact that when things are going wrong, everybody must point fingers at the number one person, the citizen, who is the president. The issue of insecurity has been there for quite a long time. It has an inherited factor. So, Tinubu, yes, the way this administration has its challenges, it does. But let's not discredit the fact that the man on top is doing a lot to get things right. It might not be juicy, it might not be easy, but the administration is working, and we must say the truth the way it is. Everybody cannot be pleased at the same time. Carrying a country as wealthy as Nigeria, over 300 and something million people in the right fact, it must not be juicy for everybody to say, this man is doing it right. Anybody that gets on that seat would understand what it means to be the president of this most populous black nation in the world. So I must tell you that the administration is doing their best, step by step. This is just 3 years or more in the office. So we must be patient. We must work these things go through. By the time Asiwaju is done in his 8-year complete tenure, significant changes will arise. I can give you that.
Oh, great. It's interesting you had to mention that. Jonathan left office as president in 2015.
Yes.
While he came on for the next 8 years, and that government continued to complain about previous administration. After 8 years, Tinubu has done 2 years. In fact, he has just started his 3rd year into his first year, 4-year term. And we still keep hearing he inherited a bad economy, inherited a country that was in a bad place. At what point will this cycle of buck passing, blame passing end?
Practically, it is getting to an end because what
on account of Tinubu's leadership.
Yes, what this administration has been able to do is pinpoint all these shortcomings, try to provide ways to mitigate it, to ensure that these loopholes that had been there a long time ago is properly harnessed. That is exactly, okay, let me tell you this. Under this administration, the minimum wage was visited, and it was increased under this very administration. It had never happened in the previous administrations. Under this administration, let's look at the FCT for instance. There are significant infrastructural changes within 2 years that has not been there oftentimes. Under this administration, we've seen TED funds taking place in so many institutes. We've seen a lot of changes, gradual process, and we're getting there. If the previous administrations had done half of what this administration is doing, I think we would have gone past this stage we are today. But because they mismanaged funds, they had no clue of how things should be, put it. Let me give you an instance. For example, you have a child. When children are in a toddler level and teenage, that's the time to guide them right. If you are ignorant of that and allow your child to grow into an adulthood, and you want to start correcting an adult to be the best he can, when his childhood was just ignored and wasted, it will take you a lot of process and effort. So that's what Nigeria is passing through. Nigeria is an adult that we're trying to bend. So it is not going to be easy. But trust me, a lot has been done to get things right. Like I said earlier, it will not be like magic. It's going to take gradual process. And this administration is getting things right in so many sectors. So when this administration is done, the next in line towards the part of Asiwaju in when you want to get something right, there must be inconveniences, there must be pains, there must be discomfort. But this is the process of greatness. When a woman wants to give birth to a child, she goes through the pain of labor to bring the child out. And when the child is born, you see her cuddling her baby with joy. So we are in the process of labor. When this child is born, we will rejoice and smile again as a nation.
So apparently you are saying Nigerians are not over-laboring, to use a word. But let's talk about how that for the ordinary person, until this translates into economic advantage of some kind or some sort of way put food on their table, it will appear whatever President Bola Tinubu is doing means next to nothing for them. But let's put it in perspective. This government meant, if you like, a stockpile of debts on account of the previous governments, especially during the 8 years of President Muhammadu Buhari, who was said to have been borrowing sporadically, at every turn. So there are those who argue and say that, look, for whatever it's worth, the bulk of the work that President Bola Tinubu says is doing today to correct Nigeria, to use your word, fix Nigeria, is on account of the mess, quote unquote, that former President Buhari had created. That's number one. Number two is to say that, is it not the case that President Bola Tinubu cannot establish that whatever he borrows or he has borrowed so far these last 2 years and counting is not commensurate with the value that Nigerians are getting?
Well, if you say that, I would say, or Nigerians, if Nigerians could say that, I would prefer to use the word that they are being unfair on the president and the administration.
How is that?
Yes. Now, look at the line of the previous administrations and the bulk borrowing. Now look at the present administration. Let me tell you something. The FCT we see today, I'm talking about FCT because the seat of power, the center of attraction. The FCT we see today is not the same with what we used to know 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Yes. In fact, in the previous administrations, the federal government pumps in money into projects. The projects are done halfway and abandoned. minimum wage of what we have today is not the way it used to be 3 years ago. These things are money being spent. And I can tell you, I can comfortably tell you that the mechanized farming we are getting into today in our agricultural sector, which the president just launched, was not there before. Why can't we just look at these little credits and give them out to the person who is inspiring them? Because the president is actually concerned in what, okay, look what happened in Benue. We've never had a president that at the nick of time, when a violence like that erupts, the president leaves all his engagement, goes to Benue to see what has happened to his people. This president is more concerned to Nigerians.
Was that not after several pressure? Because the president was more bent on going to Kaduna the next day, but it was after pressure and social media.
Okay, we could call it pressure.
For
there
example,
are people who you pressure and say things they keep a deaf ear.
But did you have to get to that point for the father of the nation, for example?
Not really, but let me also make you understand that the issue of Benue was a shock to everybody. None of us were ready for that. But when it happened, the president have to, you may call it pressure, but I think he have to let go other appointments and he to it. Now, there is one thing to be a president that listens and one thing to be a president that ignores. If he doesn't care about his people, no amount of pressure would make him leave his appointments to attend to the cries of the Benin people. And I must tell you this, Tinubu as he is, you may love him, you may hate him, but this is a man that has great vision for Nigeria. The people that were before him borrowed money. We could not see judicious usage of that money. But good thing, one thing is borrow, one thing is use it for what you're borrowing for. Let's see these things happen. Let's just appreciate the fact that the money borrowed, a lot of states today has received double or triple of their normal monthly allocations in this present administration. In fact, I listened to one of the interviews with the Nasarawa state governor. The interviewer asked him, we heard that presently you've gotten double of your monthly allocation. He said, yes. Not just them, all the state governors, it has doubled. Now, what was the previous administration doing with the money they were borrowing? When minimum wage was 35,000, when roads were dilapidated, a lot of projects abandoned. The governors were still getting a little for monthly allocation. But under this present administration, it has doubled. Under this present administration, infrastructures are going on. Projects, a lot of commissioning of projects at the federal level. So this is what we look at and we talk about. Even in the Minister of Works, let's also look at the infrastructural road networks. Today, there are a lot of abandoned federal roads that have been fixed under this administration. So we should look at the fact that, wow, this very administration is actually doing a lot. Look at our railway. Our railway was abandoned. We could just see all the wrecked trains on our railways. But presently, when I took a train from Abuja to Kaduna, I was like, wow, there's a lot of improvement under this administration. So we should give kudos to where kudos are needed. Because Tinubu is a man that a lot of people discredited because of his age. But it wasn't a Tinubu government that built the railway. No, it wasn't a Tinubu state government that built, but Tinubu government got it running. Yes. One thing is, let me build a house, I leave the house. There was running before Tinubu came on board in 2023. It was not as standard as it is today. So what has changed specifically with the train? I mean, the railway system? Practically, when you look at the structure of the new trains on board now, you cannot compare them with what we used to have. When you look at the way the rails have been upgraded today, you cannot compare them to what we used to have. So these are a few things that only when you look down deep, you will understand that this administration is doing a lot. I want to give you one instance. As a human being, if I hate you, I'm using that word, sorry, but if I don't like you, whatever you do, I would not appreciate it. Even when you're getting it right, I would still look for something to say, you didn't do this correctly, but I know you're doing the right thing. So this is one thing you should understand, that a lot of people discredited Asiwaju because of his age. They said, no, this man cannot do anything. But the man is there, he's working. But because most people don't like him, you don't expect them to accept everything he's doing. But as a good and patriotic Nigerian, when you look at where we are today, in so many aspects, you would say, no, we've actually got a government that, even if it's not 100%, that is actually working on the right track.
Okay, we're going to take a break shortly. But before that happens, what are your concerns with the manner in which the subsidy, the fuel subsidy that is, was suspended?
Well, every politician during the presidential election had this subsidy as one of their key subjects.
Right.
Everyone from Atiku to Obi, their first message is, when I'm elected, subsidy is gone. The fact that this present administration decided to remove the subsidy, stabilize the economy, I say that an average Nigeria does not care whether it is going well or not. So long as they are buying fuel on a high price, they are telling you that you're not doing it well. But the truth is this: when the subsidy was removed, subsidy is a cankerworm that has been eating deep into this country. That it has to go. It must go. And when it goes, we must suffer the process of getting to the right final destination. Look, okay, there are a lot of refineries that are working today that we don't have them before. So we must go through this pain.
Are you including Warri and Port Harcourt that are virtually not working?
I'm not talking about Warri and Port Harcourt that is not working. I'm talking about some of these private refineries that the government has actually funded to get on its feet today. But let me also tell you, Kaduna Refinery is working. Yes.
At what capacity? Because that conversation in itself is controversial.
We might not talk about the capacity. What we're talking about is, years ago, was it working? And is it working today? So this is the fact we should look at. Gradually, it will get to the standard where, this is how many barrels we are producing from this refinery. And same thing, if not that most people are politicizing this Port Harcourt refinery of a thing, I think it should be running.
When we say most people politicizing, incidentally, our break is pushing further down the line. But I mean, if we say most people are politicizing, is it not part of leadership?
No, it's not.
That you should deal with those people who are politicizing because they are sabotaging the nation.
Good.
Right.
You have a good point. But the point remains this: the president cannot be everywhere at the same time. The president is doing his work at the top. People are designated to handle these things. So if they are being infiltrated, if they are being compromised, you don't blame the president. Yes.
Okay, but maybe we'll take a break at this point, and when we return, we'll talk about some things over which we may have to blame the president, and it's a good thing you are here to help shed light on those other areas. When we return, we'll talk about 2027 proper, the gale of defections that we have seen the last couple of weeks in particular, and we'll narrow down to the home state of my guest this morning to talk about what the fate of Governor Fubara will be going forward. All right, this is a point where we pivot a little to delve deeper into the 2027 conversation. All right, so there's a coalition now. Well, we know what happened with your party in 2014, going into 2015, the same coalition that brought about the APC, and today it has become the ruling party. What are your thoughts about this coalition? Of course, you have some of the big names in Nigerian politics in this coalition. I know as an APC member, there's a chance you are going to say it doesn't pose a threat to the president or to your party. But how does it change the narrative in any case?
Well, I actually smiled. The reason why I smiled is because when you talk about coalition that can pose a threat, you talk about the individuals and their relevance in politics. The fact that APC, ACN, and the rest of them came together, merged, and formed a political party that could unseat an incumbent is because the political juggernauts were relevant in their states. Look at the likes of those that are in this coalition that we are talking about. Amechi has lost his relevance in Rivers State. Arebeshola, I can't even remember when last I had that name in Nigeria politics. P2B is already in Labour Party. Labour Party is suffering today. They have two factions. Now you talk about Atiku. Atiku is a man that, well, for the fact of age, he has lost political relevance. When you talk about age, 8 years to come, he's going to be the grandfather that he is. So look at the trend of those involved, championing this. El-Rufai has lost his political relevance in Kaduna. The present governor, El-Rufai can't even go to the government house in Kaduna State. These are people that cannot convince a local government. Talk more of a state. So what is their relevance in their state? How can they pose a threat to the APC? Just like the president said, we would embrace a man that can give us a run for the money. Perfect. But don't gather a bunch of, can I say, men that are retired in their states. Wike gave Amechi a run in the state. Amechi is nowhere to be found. In fact, he's confused. I don't even know who you want to mention in that coalition that will be a major threat. None. Arabashola is a hidden face. So these are people you bring, they have sticks. They want to come and fight people with machete. It's not possible. We would want to see them do more better. We would want to see them remove their selfish interests and want to build a coalition that will, because the coalition you're talking about, with what I've heard, Atiku is coming as the president, asking Obi to deputize him. So how do you think that Atiku would become the president of this country?
Why can't he become the president if Tinubu could become president?
Because Atiku does not even have the relevance. He does not even have the charisma. He does not even have that guts to champion this nation. That is the truth. See, everything in life is about trend. A man that has lost his trend is irrelevant. That's the truth. If you want to say someone, maybe someone who is politically not strong, as Asiwaju, I might want to give it a little thought. But for the fact that Asiwaju is there, even when all odds were against him in the previous election, he emerged. When if we have two major political parties fighting and opposing him, the Labour Party and the PDP as at then. This was when these guys had a relevance. But at the end, they could not even match with Asiwaju. So what are we talking about now? How do you think that whatever coalition they are even coming up with can be a threat to this administration?
Aside being the incumbent president, what other competitive advantage does President Bola Tinubu have?
In fact, President Bola Tinubu is the only politician that has never lost election. Go and check. He has never lost. So he has built a wall around himself that gives him comfort. Out of politics, he is a man that has made men. Let me tell you something. President Bola Tinubu has been nurturing the ambition of being the president of this country for a very long time. He wasn't greedy, he wasn't ambitious, he was quiet, waiting for the right time.
Maybe you want to say he wasn't desperate, but he was quite ambitious, because he said he took him 20 years to plan it all out. That's a huge ambition.
You can use that word. He wasn't desperate like others. He decided to toe the right path. Support, follow, be a good party man. Be a good, veteran in the party, in the APC. But some people, for their personal ambition of becoming the president, when they had the time, even in the PDP, when it was time for zoning, to the south. But because someone wants to be president at all costs, he said, no, I must come and compete. And that stabilized the PDP till today. PDP, before they could come out from what they're suffering now, it will take them a donkey years if care is not taken. So when you put personal interest ahead of people's interest, it always backfires. So President Tinubu as a man has built that dignity, personality that speaks for him.
Like many other parties in Nigeria today, and of course as has been the case since 1999, for example, your party also has its internal issues. We're seeing people, many of them with a lot of political clout, if you like, leave your party. Some of them advisors, some of them, if you don't mind, like kitchen cabinets of some kind. Some of them have left, officially and formally left the party. There are those who are still within the party. They are more like fifth columnists because they don't believe in the party anymore. Some of them have even lost confidence in the president for whatever reason. How is the APC dealing with those concerns? Or you think they are not significant and consequential enough?
Well, like you said, every political party has its internal problems.
That's right.
But trust me, the present party chairman is talking to all the aggrieved members.
Including those who have resigned?
Yes. I was an aggrieved member of the party because when you talk about people that works tirelessly for Asiwaju in 2023, I am one of them. I'm one of the people that stood my ground. You know what it is to convince over 300 support groups to come together. let us support this administration. Even during the election, there was no funds, but we used our money, supported our people, give them transport, go to the polling unit, do something, make sure you vote and deliver your polling unit, and we worked for it. Majority of my colleagues today were not appreciated, so they got angry. But what I believe in is the party. Let's keep the memory of the party alive, the legacy of the party alive. So those that are aggrieved, trust me, we're doing something in bringing them back. We're doing something to understanding and treating their grievances. So you cannot compare us with the PDP that is dead. As I'm talking to you now, you know, you've seen also recognize the fact that there are so many important personalities in the Nigerian politics today who are defected from their own party to the APC. We're talking about relevant governors. We're talking about, people who, when they speak, people follow them. So these are the kind of progress the party is making over time. And whose influence is this, Asiwaju? So people believe that when we come to the APC, it is a party that has structured itself to stand the test of time. Sustainability, structure, that is what APC has. So Asiwaju is the only president that has done inclusivity in his system. Never before have we ever had it that someone from the opposition party was appointed just because you've seen what he did in his state, just because you believe this man can deliver. Wike is the only governor that did over 12 flyovers in 1 year in the state, my state, Rivers State. So when you look at quality, Asiwaju goes for quality. He picks quality. It doesn't matter where you are. He's a president that does not think about, look at the president going to other parties in the states to commission projects. The likes of Anambra State, the likes of Kaduna State, a lot of states that are not under the APC. The president today goes there to commission projects. But it has never happened. In the past, we used to have it that if the APC is in power, the PDP will invite an external body to come and commission projects. They would ignore the president. But today, we have it that even a party that is opposition to our party, the governors will invite the president to come and commission projects. That is to tell you the kind of person Asiwaju is. So trust me, my party is actually getting it right. Those aggrieved members will come back, and we're also open to welcoming a lot of other persons from other political parties.
You have made this conversation easier, and I'll tell you why real quick. You mentioned defection in person, right? So we've seen a lot of these persons, bigwigs in Nigerian politics, defect, including governors. I mean, whether it's Delta State Governor, Akwa Ibom State Governor, we've seen them move into your party. And people are wondering, yes, and we hear there are many more in the works. Some people are even speculating that Governor Mbaf Enugu will join. Well, Professor Soludo may not join from Anambra State, but President Tinubu has the support. Yes. We deliver Anambra State for you, for your party and the president. Of course, we also hear that Osun State Governor is likely going to move. So we hear all of these things. There are those who say that, look, these governors are only trying to secure the bag, as they say on the streets. In other words, they are only trying to secure their second-term ticket because they don't want the president and the APC to throw a spanner in the works for them going into that election. As a matter of fact, some people say in light of that, there is also the chance that the governor of Bayelsa State, Doyo Diri, is likely going to leave and move to the APC as well. So the APC appears to be having a field day on the surface. But is this not just superficial, if you like, jamboree of some kind, as against real solid support for the APC?
Well, in politics, many people agree that politics is a game of interest. But no matter what your interest is, so long as at the moment your interest speaks for the success of the party, your interest speaks for the progress of the party, it is welcomed. I don't want to join a political party because I feel my shadow will be, protected. I want to join a political party because I want to make it better. So most of these governors or big names you see defecting, everybody have their reasons for their actions.
Right.
But I'm only concerned about the progress of my party. So if you are coming to my party with the intention of a temporary membership, it's your decision. But let your present participation in the party give the desired progress that the party needs at that time. What is the main focus? Delivering 2027. So if you come to our party at this time and you want to ensure that your state you deliver your state for the party for 2027, then it's welcomed. But like I said, every individual has an internal intention for whatever actions they take. So let's not use it to judge the structure or the sustainability of the party, if it's going to pose any interest in the future or not. When the time comes, when we get to that bridge, we will know how to cross it. But we're talking about the relevancy of these people in the 2027 election.
All right, before we hit another break now, let's talk about your state, Rivers. Of course, it's no news that Governor Fubara got suspended a while ago, so you have a sole administrator in the person of a retired military man running that state right now. As a matter of fact, a budget of 1.48 trillion naira has just been approved for that state by the National Assembly. We heard about a fortnight ago that from the way the budget is structured, allowance, so to speak, has been made for Governor Fubara's return. And some people say there's a precondition for that. And they say there had been, first of all, a meeting between him and the president sometime in London. Of course, he has also met with the minister of the FCT, former governor of Rivers State, who happens to be his political godfather and the president of Barrister Nyesom Wike. But the precondition they say is that Governor Fubara will have to decamp to the APC. Others say no, he may not have to defect. He just has to give his word, guarantees of some kind, that he will deliver Rivers State for the president going into 2027. What is the fate of not just the governor who has been suspended, but Rivers State as a whole? Because the political imbroglio in that state right now is so much so that it has become a case of when two elephants fight, and you know what happens.
Well, in that, I would like to be as professional as I can on this matter. First, I want to give kudos to President Tinubu. His decision of state of emergency saved the state and the governor.
Was it necessary?
It was. At that point, tensions were high. Tinubu was heading, Fubara was heading for an impeachment. That's the truth. So when the president stepped in, he made everything calm in the state and gave Fubara a second chance. Fubara is not a bad person.
So talk to us quickly about that second chance. Please.
Yes, the second chance is the fact that he wanted to calm the pressure at the moment and restructure things, like you said, for Fubara's return. Because definitely, is he coming back? Yes, he's coming back. Because he is the duly elected governor of the state.
But the man says he's no longer interested, that his spirit and his mind have left that.
Those are political speeches. Why is he going for meetings? Why is he going for...
So do you agree that he has met the president?
Yes, of course. In every atom of rumor, there is truth. So he has actually, which he acknowledged in one of his statements, he has also met his godfather, the FCT minister.
Right.
So what is the essence of these meetings if you're no more interested? He is the governor. He must complete his works. But like you said, there must be conditions attached, which I'm not privileged to, and I wouldn't say anything about those conditions, whether they come into APC or whatever thing, I don't know. All I know is that the governor is coming back as the governor of Rivers State. Yes. Things will be put in place. He has to reconcile with the House of Assembly members. He has to ensure that his peace, strike a balance of peace on both sides. Even if your political godfather has lost interest, has lost confidence in you or whatsoever, then prove him wrong. Make him understand that you are actually his boy that he used to know. But trust me, in the governance aspect, I would still say, Fubara should not let anyone interfere in his governorship aspirant. How he's running the state. He's the governor, he should run the state.
Including people like Wike should not be allowed to interfere?
No.
But is that possible? Is that realistic in the kind of politics we play in Nigeria?
Probably it might not be, but in the real sense, I cannot support. Wike in his statements in the past have said, bringing a successor doesn't mean I should always interfere in his affairs.
But he has also said time and again, every other time, up till even recently, that he doesn't like ungrateful people. So the question has been for Mr. Wike, which I'm not sure you're here to answer. In what way has Mr. Siminalayi Fubara been ungrateful to you? He has never been specific about that.
You don't expect him to be specific because...
He's off the record.
He's off the record. And with a little I can pinch into that is this. Ungrateful means, how can you come back and fight the hand that made you? No matter what it is. That's where the ungratefulness comes in. You can't fight the hand that made you. You're making him feel you have done the wrong thing. So Wike in his own human nature felt, oh, I've been insulted, I've been slapped, I've been seen as someone who did the wrong thing. So when he's talking about being ungrateful, because as I am, if you make me the governor of the state, I'll be totally indebted to you. But in this case, when the chips were done, we saw what played out. Yes, but the statement of being ungrateful, this is the angle I am looking at it, where the FCT minister is coming from. But for the governor, like I keep saying, run the state, don't let anyone interfere. That's what I can say to
Well, I'm sure like Governor Fubara, we all wish that was possible. But finally on River State now, right? We understand that it was the tussle between Governor Fubara and Mr. Wike that led Rivers to where it is now politically. Yes. In the event that he returns to the government house in Port Harcourt, for example, will that element not continue to be in play?
Well, just like we said earlier, I believe that there are going to be a lot of strategies that we put in place to ensure that it never comes up again on both sides. Both individuals must shift grants to accommodate peace that they have preached.
Oh, that's great. We'll take a quick break again at this point, everyone. The conversation is becoming more interesting and expanded. When we return, we'll go to the north to see what the sentiments about President Tinubu are like in light of the 2027 general election, because that's a pivotal region of 19 states that really do matter every election cycle in Nigeria. Stay tuned. It turns out you already mentioned former governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, a while ago. Of course, he's one of the persons railing, politically speaking, against President Tinubu right now. And for the first time, while in Kaduna State a few days ago, the president did have to respond to him, whether you say it's directly or indirectly. And he said that former governor Nasir El-Rufai had left a legacy of quote-unquote toxic leadership in Kaduna State. Is on record. That's the first time President Tinubu would respond to him the entire time that, I mean, even long before he left the party and all of that. But it's not just Mr. Nasir El-Rufai alone who is anti-Tinubu, so to speak, in the north. There are several other big names, influential figures up north across that region who are not in support of President Tinubu, including, for example, Dr. Hakeem Baba Ahmed, who resigned from the government just a few months ago, for instance. Is that not enough reason for your party, the APC, and the president to have a bit of sleepless nights, politically speaking, too?
Well, you know, the north is a very complex region. Yes, complex such that in most cases, they decide to follow things the way their leaders tell them. Now, why I still retain the fact that those moves cannot shake our party a bit is because most of the individuals involved in this issue of the campaign, a coalition coming together and the rest of them, I don't see them as a major political threat. I don't. In as much as you don't take anything for granted, in as much as you don't overlook any situation in politics, because it's a funny game. But when I look at the political relevance of these individuals, I still do not think they could pose any major threat unless before 2027 a miracle happens around them and boom, they are being massively accepted, so to say. Then we could start looking at how to tackle that. But for now, I still feel that they are not even a major threat to this very present administration. Talking about Nasir El-Rufai, El-Rufai is a man I like so much. The fact that he has laid a good legacy in the FCT. He used to be a very good friend of the president. In fact, they are one of the people, El-Rufai, Yahya Bello, are one of those that really stood their ground during the cashless policy.
Right.
To ensure that it doesn't affect the president's ambition and all of that. So, but you know, like in politics, enemies today, friends tomorrow, and the rest of that. But I don't think that El-Rufai, as a party man, as one of the veterans in Nigerian politics, is wise in most of his speeches to the president. If you want to attack or criticize the president, do them diplomatically. Don't make it look like this person is not even doing anything for the nation. It is you being unfair to even yourself because you want to discredit him. So most of the things he has said on national television, to me, I feel he is saying them because probably he's aggrieved. You know what played out during his political ministerial appointments and the rest, the petitions that followed, and then that then stopped his screening and all of that. So I feel he's aggrieved. And when a man is aggrieved, he can go to any length to say anything.
Well, but was that not some sort of betrayal, some people would say? I mean, how is it that he had done all this work that you even alluded to for the president, going into the election, for example, traveling with him on the way to the Chatham House in the UK and all that? Some persons have said, look, the least this man will get in this administration by the time President Bola Tinubu came on board would be a ministerial appointment. All of that happened in the name of some security reports. And Mr. El-Rufai, in fairness to him for a second, has asked very pointedly, what exactly is it about the security report that made it impossible for me to be screened to become a minister? I'm not sure President Bola Tinubu has reached out to him if they were really friends, as you say they were.
Now let's look at the beginning of this whole thing. If President Bola Tinubu has an issue with El-Rufai, I don't think he would have been nominated in the first place.
But was that a political move, some decoy, and then let it get to some sort of dead end?
Where did the petitions even come from? It came from his people who felt he doesn't deserve it. The president has done his part, carrying him along by appointing him and also nominating him, and also accepting his nomination. It is for you. The president will do his part by nominating. It is for you to prove yourself to the Senate. When you, during your screening, if you're clean, the Senate will appoint you. But a lot of petitions came in from his own people. What would the president do? Don't you think that in that situation, if the president has decided to impose him, people would not say, oh, you are one autocratic leader, you want to impose people, even when there are petitions and you want to use your presidential power to still impose him in there. But it didn't happen because the president is a man that respects the rule of law. So he allowed the due process to go through. And when the screening couldn't go for that because of a lot of political security concerns coming in from Kaduna, the Senate has to do the right thing. So why would the president be blamed? And don't forget, even when President Tinubu won the primaries, he called all of them, both Amechi, all to let's work together. Yes, he did that.
But is that not commonplace? That's what all politicians do, even at the local government level, for example. But you say, well, yes.
The truth is, do it. Let it be on record that you did, instead of ignoring them. But he did what he could. But these people decided that no, they are aggrieved. They don't want to ever come. Some are known for the fact that they have unforgiving spirit, so they think the best way is discredit this man's system because we are not being carried along. That is what is playing out. El-Rufai accepted the nomination. He went to the Senate to be screened. So if he had anything against this administration, he would have said, no, I don't want. But when he got there, he couldn't make it. How is it the fault of the president? So he is aggrieved. He is venting his anger by discrediting everything. That's normal human nature, though, but he is going too far. That is the truth. And the president, in his wisdom, just gave him that response. It is a cake for him to eat, for him to take. So let him look at what he has done and what he has said about the president and ask himself, was I actually right in what I'm doing? Yes, if he can be truthful to himself, he is going way too far. Because the issue that he wasn't being appointed as a minister under this administration is not the fault of the president. Where would I blame the president is if he was not even nominated in the first place. If he was abandoned completely. But he wasn't. Now you don't expect when this happened, you and I don't know if the president reached out to him or not. Even if it's off record, we don't know. So we cannot justify that. We can't speak on that. They are political friends, don't forget. Even in this loggerhead, don't be surprised that in 2027, there might be something that will happen. You still see El-Rufai supporting Tinubu. That's politics.
Yeah, of course, it's possible. No
yes.
About that.
So let's just look at El-Rufai's issue as a personal, individual grievances that is being voiced out.
It appears your party is being, if you like, battered, or maybe we say troubled on many fronts. I'm sure you are aware of what happened in Gombe State just last week, for example, over the Tinubu, Shetima, tickets, factor, and all of that. As it stands today, it's arguable, in fact, we can subject it to a debate on whatever level, that there's a chance Vice President Shetima is not going to be on the ticket with President Tinubu in 2027. This morning, for example, you look at the news, Daily Trust in particular, you see the Senate, Deputy President of the Senate, Barao, say that, look, whatever President Tinubu wants, I would do. If he calls on me and says I should be his running mate in 2027, by all means, I would tag along and all that. Talk to us about that development.
When has the president come out to say, I don't want to run with Shetima?
But what are these developments suggestive of?
You can say them as inferior, hyperbolic statements. These things that are being said are being overblown by the media. Until the president issues an official statement, I'm dropping my running mate Shetima, then we can make it official. For now, I'm seeing that political rumors, mongers.
Even with the president of the deputy Senate president?
Deputy Senate president is talking about himself.
Saying that if the president wants him to run with him in 2027,
if the
he won't decline that offer.
Good. There
must be a basis on which he's saying that.
Whatever basis, it's an assumption.
Because by default, we would have expected that Senator Kashim Shettima that should run again with his principal, the president.
Perfect. But don't forget that every politician in Nigeria has a personal interest.
Including the president, of course.
Of course, yes. We are humans, that's the truth. But then let me tell you this. The fact that, I still repeat, the party has not issued an official statement on this. The president has not issued an official statement on this. The campaign administration has not done so. I don't want to give into that yet. Whatever plays out, rumor can cause a lot of outburst.
Right.
Just like what happened in Gombe. The rumor has been flying that Shetima wants to be dropped. Shetima wants to be dropped. So when the Gombe issue comes up, Shetima has his followers. He has people that loves him. His people that wants to vote because Shetima is involved. So you don't feed that information to go down well with them. You don't expect it. But they react based on what they heard. And that's why I said today, let me tell you this. Social media, 90% of what are cooked up. They are not true. In most cases, when you have a complex political game like we have in Nigeria, so a lot can go down the drain. But what I want to tell you is the fact that my party has not issued an official statement on dropping Shetima. We can't take it as serious as the media is booming it. Yes. So let's not just go to the fact that Shetima is to be dropped or not. No, I leave that to the party to decide and give an official statement. Until that is done, I wouldn't say further on that issue.
I'm sure, the creator will keep you and I alive long enough to have this conversation come again until that time. Right. But let's wrap it up at this point. Your party has aggrieved members dispersed across this country, again, like I mentioned a while ago, especially up north. To the best of your knowledge, are efforts being made to, if you like, pacify these aggrieved individuals, get them back into the fold, especially as we inch closer to 2027?
Well, like I said, Tinubu is a man of peace. He's a man that has been known for carrying people along. So I believe in his wisdom, he should understand what is the right thing to do. Definitely. He's a man that has always brought aggrieved people together. That is track record. So I believe in his wisdom. He knows the right thing to do. Because in any political front, everybody is relevant. Even the least person is relevant. So long as I'm concerned, he's a man that is blessed with political wisdom. So he understands the game more than any other person. I believe that when the time is right, he can fix these things. Practically, he can.
I was thinking we should skip this question, but it's important. Young people, we're talking about your party now. I mean, the key actors in your party. We're talking about the proposed coalition as it stands, because they don't even have a vehicle yet, politically speaking, for that purpose. We're not seeing much of young people, maybe not even any. What does that say about youth participation in politics and leadership?
Practically, I can give kudos to the APC on that. The appointment from the Minister of Culture, the Minister of Youth and Sports, and a handful of them, these are youths. Yes, these are youths. Previously, we don't have it like this. But young people coming into politics, I feel it's an individual choice to make. Have you ever seen, most of our youths are more concerned on stomach infrastructure. They are not concerned in coming deep into politics. Let me tell you something. I started nurturing political inclusiveness and ambition right from my very young age. I looked at the future. The country will come to a time when the youth will be deciding what will happen. People like you and I should think of how we can come into the big picture of the political structure of this nation. But majority of our youths today are not even looking at that. They prefer being servants than becoming masters. The world today is evolving in such that youths are actually taking that place. But my country, I feel most of our youths that have what it takes, they don't want to look deep into getting into the right picture. They prefer being out of the box, getting whatever they want. But trust me, after 2027, the game will change. Youth will be more involved in politics.
Well, we look forward to that. Seeing that projection come to be after 2027. But we'd like to appreciate you for your time and these very valuable insights that you shared with us this morning. I've been talking with Chief Solomon Francis. He's a politician, technocrat, and a philanthropist, as well as an ambassador of peace and unity. He doubles as the Director General Chairman of Coalition of Groups for Asiwaju Shetima. Also is the DG and founder of SSN Nigeria TV reality show Strongest.
Yes, and let me shed a little light on that.
Right.
Now, SSN Nigeria is a reality show which I invented to promote unity with our culture. 36 states. Each of the states provides 2 competent youths, a male and a female, that understands their culture. They come together, we camp them, they interrelate, share their cultural values. Now, no nudity, no immorality, no indecent dressing. This reality show only gears on how can we as a nation live as one united entity. Despite our religious affiliation, despite our cultural, let's get rid of bigotry and become good patriots that thinks of how can we be united. Only if you see me as your brother, then we can achieve peace. If the Hausa man can embrace the Igbo man or the Yoruba, then we can achieve peace. But without that, we can't achieve peace. So Global TV is the major TV station that will be airing this program.
Well, we look forward to that manifestation, quite frankly, because anything that will move Nigeria forward, is quite welcome. Again, thank you, Chief Solomon Francis, for taking our time this morning. That's what we're leaving it with this discussion. We'll move on with the rest of the program. After this break, Juma and I will be back to continue talking about big stories across our country and beyond. But first off, after this break, we'll turn our sights to the Middle East, where Israel and Iran are said now to have a ceasefire in place, and President Trump, speaking in The Hague in the Netherlands yesterday during the NATO summit, has said that, look, this peace deal, this truce has come to stay. So we hope peace returns to the Middle East as quickly as possible, because as rapper late Tupac Shakur once said, until there is peace in the Middle East, the world will know no peace. Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
What is your problem? What's your problem? We're on the road to protest. And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
All right, you're welcome back from the first discuss of the day. Hope you had an amazing time with Uyagbon Fuegbe and, of course, Chief Solomon, who delved into political issues making round in Nigeria. And, of course, I'm sure you guys talked more on what is happening, the crisis that is ongoing in PDP and the rest.
Because he's an APC person, so he naturally won't be able to talk much about the PDP crisis and stuff like that. But the PDP crisis has become complicated, hydra-headed, and we must also mention embarrassing. Because this is a party that has people who are otherwise not just brilliant and intelligent, but they have the leadership resources, as it were, to be able to steer this party away from all of these crises and challenges it's grappling with. But you see, in politics, one political party's loss is another political party's gain.
Exactly.
President Tinubu has done his part. He has said that, look, I'm not interested in the crisis you guys are dealing with, neither am I involved in it. However, if those in your party, if some people in your party now see a reason to move to the APC, why not? They're welcome. Besides, the president says, I know it. All right, so I can carve the path for them. So if they want to join, they are all welcome, but it's no pressure. Well, nobody's going to coerce them to join us, all right, that sort of thing. So for me, I believe that is enough reason for the PDP to take a closer look at its inner workings.
Exactly.
And ask itself, what exactly are we getting wrong? How can we get it right?
To the drawing board.
You can't continue to blame Mr. Yes or Wike for all the challenges your party is grappling with, all right? Even if Wike were a problem, who says you can't address the issue based on your own internal mechanism, all right? Every political party, every organization has a way of dealing with issues like this. So if you think Mr. Wike is your problem, then address it, deal with it, all right? Because the PDP, one would have thought, is the lead opposition party in the country today, but whether it's playing that role well or not is no longer in doubt. So we talked about issues around the APC as well. The APC has its own fair share of challenges.
Very true.
There are people who have resigned because they say they are not comfortable with the way President Bola Tinubu is leading the country.
Very true.
They're not comfortable with the kind of leadership he provides for the party. Others say, well, we're not disclosing where we're living, but we're done here. However, we are grateful to the president for the privilege and the honor to have served in his government, serving our country, and things like that. But there's a particular chief, Chibu Naubawike, one of our regular guests here, a leading member of the APC, who says that he has a lot of respect for people who have the guts to resign and leave the party.
Very true.
Unlike those who remain in the party nominally, but continue to hurt the party from the inside. Exactly, they cause chaos inside, but they are still in the party and things like that. And the APC guys hope that the president in his wisdom will find a way to also ease such elements out, because they are saboteurs.
Yeah, yes, they are. And there's nothing like integrity. It's very important to have the integrity to leave and still own up and say, oh, hey, I cannot continue with this sort of leadership. I want to leave because I feel I don't have peace here, but let me just leave, but no bad blood. I still support, and I'm still thankful for the opportunity. It shows courage, and I think that's what some politicians have done, which kudos to them, though, and I hope they find succor somewhere else. Now, let's move away from that issue. Now, let's talk about Iran and Iraq. Of course, we keep going back and forth, especially with Donald Trump in the middle of all of this, who has decided there's no ceasefire and all of that now. And then, please enlighten me.
Okay, so here's what it is with Iran and Israel, basically, right? Of course, we know by the time the U.S. struck 3 cities in Iran just a few days ago, that was on Sunday, it changed the narrative, quite frankly. Excuse me, changed the narrative because people will say Iran didn't see that coming. Even if they thought it was ever going to happen, they didn't expect it to happen that soon, right?
True.
And once that happened, we saw what Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, did. He came out to thank President Trump and the U.S. people and said now a strong message has been sent to Iran. And then President Trump, while also delivering his after strike, as I'd like to call it, address at the Oval Office in the White House, did say that, look, this is the best time to make peace. And we saw how that the UK Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, also came out to say there needs to be de-escalation. I mean, let's de-escalate, let's talk peace going forward and all of that. Even Venezuela, for example, also said there's no better time to come to dialogue. Let's have a conversation as to how we can resolve this conflict as quickly as possible. We've seen that happen across the country. Russia has spoken up about it. China has spoken up about it. But the president, I mean the U.S. president himself, Trump, was in The Hague yesterday in the Netherlands. He was speaking at the NATO summit where he did say that, look, the
truce, as it were now, that has been reached between Israel and Iran is here to stay. So there's ceasefire. All right, so at this point, that ceasefire would practically mean that neither Israel nor Iran is expected to attack or strike each other, and we hope that stays while they continue to discuss the issue around the conflict in the first instance. However, one thing is clear. I mean, there's just one point that all of these Western nations, as well as Israel, are unanimous on. That's the fact that they say that Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. And Iran has a strong argument. Iran's argument is clear and simple. It says if Israel can have, if the UK, if US and other countries can have, why can't Iran also have? So that's where we are today. And Global TV has spent every other day since this conflict broke out covering the big elements in the story.
You know, funny enough, with all of these issues that we're going back and forth with this war, it's affecting various economy when it comes to the high rise of fuel. Right now, fuel is not the one that it's higher 900 and
915 in Abuja, 945 in Lagos. Right.
But now it's higher now, and you just wonder. This is it's taking a toll on some countries right now as we speak.
Even on oil-producing nations like Nigeria, right?
Yes, it is. It's taking a big toll. But we hope this de-escalation happens fast and there is a compromise and they nip all of this in the bud, and so we can all move forward. But I think, you know, I was telling Ramsey yesterday, a lot of people make a lot of money when it comes to war.
Right.
So many people behind the scene will not want this war to end or this issue, and some people are saying that with this happening, this back and forth, it might lead to a third world war, which we do not want and we do not pray for. Did you see the process that broke out in America where Americans came out and says, please Iran, we do not want war, we're not part of it. We're not interested.
We have bigger issues to deal with.
Bigger issues to deal with. But unfortunately, this is what it is. I hope President Donald Trump is making the right decision, because a lot of individuals are not happy when it comes to this issue of his tenure and all of that. So many people do not agree with what he's doing, but hopefully it's for the best and for the benefit of Americans and the world at large, not causing chaos and problems. But with this problem with Israel and Iran, we hope it comes to an end really, really soon. It's taking a toll.
Right. Like you said, war is a big business, right? There are those who are selling arms. There are those who are leveraging it to move their interests, you know, from point A to point B, politically and diplomatically, even in terms of trade and all of that, right? But something came up very recently following this attack by the U.S. on Iran, when Iran started, talks around Iran shutting down the Strait of Hormuz came up. Now, for the benefit of our viewers, the Strait of Hormuz is actually like a passageway, all right, on the high sea, through which trade happens, especially as it has to do with energy, resources and stuff like that, all right? So the implication is, if that passage were to be shut down, it means there will be an impossibility of being able to move stuff through it. So the U.S. president, for example, like every other right-thinking person across the world knows, realizes that that would be very catastrophic for world trade, for global trade. So he reaches out to China to say China should persuade Iranian authorities not to allow that happen, because once it does, everybody is going to, as we say here, chop breakfast. All right. But beyond that, Iran also has its own domestic problems, because when you look at it, there are people in Iran, some of them outside of Iran, who are not happy with the leadership there, especially under Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, Ayatollah, because they say, look, it's time for us to move beyond this one-size-fits-all kind of leadership. You have been here long enough. It's not a family inheritance. Someone else can take up the leadership from this point, all right? It can't just be one person the entire time, all right? So you have that happening. It is probably even on the basis of that, some people are now speculating that what the U.S. and Israel in particular want to achieve ultimately is a regime change. And that's why you saw when these strikes back and forth between Israel and Iran started, there was the fear or concern, at least, that there could be the possibility of Mr. Khamenei being taken out, being eliminated by either Israel or the U.S. Because once that happened, it means there will be a regime change and all of that. But we do know for a fact that President Trump had also warned the Israelis not to take him out because that would just help the whole thing spiral out of control and become more chaotic and things like that. But this, as it were now, this de-escalation that has been called for and these truce, as it were, ceasefire that has been reached, all right, will help to give the actors themselves a chance to take a deep breath and ask themselves, what do we really want? Because everybody really, Juma, is trying to avoid the breakout of a third world war because that's not going to be funny for anyone, both those in power and those out of it.
And at the same time, everyone is trying to protect their own terrain.
Naturally.
Which is very important because it has to be beneficial for both of us. So there has to be a balance. So with Iran and Israel, there should be a balance. So like you said, so that war will not break out. But we'll keep going through and still giving more information on what is going on when it comes to Iran and Israel, and hope this truce de-escalation that is that has been declared will go ahead and make a break. Because it's very important there should be truce and there should be a ceasefire with immediate effect, because a lot of individuals have been displaced, a lot of families have been killed, children, women, men, and it's just an unfortunate and very sad sight. And at this time, we have to wrap it up on the program Global Morning, this beautiful Thursday morning. And it's the tag team for Global Morning, myself and I am Jumai Manson. And be safe out there. And remember, there is always light at the end of the tunnel. I'm my co-host.
I'm Uyag Mofwebe. I'd like to say a big thank you to you for watching. And remember that the views of our guests are their opinions, and the papers that we bring for you here are such that Global Television has no editorial input into them. We'll just bring you the headlines and guide you through the day's news.